In this video, I will be discussing the morality behind the Curse of the Black Sun from the Witcher series, as well as other important themes regarding the topic. In essence, the Curse of the Black Sun was a wild witch hunt that targeted girls who were born on the night of the Black Sun. The reason this is important is because throughout our history, we have had plenty of witch hunts, all fueled by paranoia, hysteria, and a lack of understanding. As dark as it may sound, this was a recurring theme in our long history, so there's something to be learned from this. The reasoning behind the curse was an old prophecy by a mage named Eltebald, which stated that the Black Sun, a certain eclipse, would transform 60 highborn girls into creatures who would ultimately bring upon the extermination of the human race. As far as proof goes, there isn't much, other than the girls having internal mutations and being resistant to magic, which is something human beings are not known to have. That, however, does not prove them to be evil as well as threats to the human race. The two characters in particular that were affected by this so-called curse were Renfri from the books/TV series and Sienna from the Witcher games. Both characters have a similar backstory in which they were highborn girls, cast down, shunned, and brutalized from society because of this curse, as well as their behavior. But the truth is, we don't even know if this curse was even real, and that is what makes things interesting. Based on the Witcher world, where monsters, magic, fantasy are all active elements, it could be entirely possible that the curse and premonition of the Black Sun could in fact be true. But it could also be a load of shit. That said, we can't argue much on the validity of the curse, but we can argue on whether what happened was right or wrong, and if the curse was to blame for creating these monsters. Was Stregobor and the others right to launch an onslaught on these girls who were born on the night of the Black Sun? If you watched my previous video, you would have learned the difference between consequentialism and deontological ethics. With The Witcher being set in a sort of medieval era, the value of the consequences and the end result outweigh the actions themselves. This would be the same in our medieval era, meaning that there were more consequentialists around at the time. This is why no one batted an eye when all that happened, because it was a sacrifice for humanity. If the curse of the Black Sun was actually real, and Renfri and Sienna and all the other girls were monsters set out to destroy the human race, then removing them from the world would have been the lesser evil, as Stregobor said. It would have been a no-brainer. A few lives for hundreds and thousands of lives. What if the curse was not real, you ask? Well, Stregobor and everyone else who participated would be in the wrong. Even through consequentialism, destroying a number of girls' lives just because they were born in the Black Sun will not make the world any better. If anything, it would have allowed a new breed of humans that are resistant to magic to enter this world. All of this leads to the real questions surrounding this topic. Were Renfri and Sienna born monsters? Or were they made to be monsters? This is the prevalent battle between nature and nurture. Are monsters born or are they made? Both characters were shunned and characterized as creatures of evil as little girls. They went through a brutal path in life. Them being dubbed as evil by everyone will not be a fact I will be refuting, since by the time we get to know them, we see they are capable of doing monstrous things, and they have. Instead, we will discuss whether this was because nature or nurture. Are monsters born or are monsters made? Nature is the impact genetics and hereditary factors have on you, whereas nurture is the impact environmental factors and experiences have on you. In our case, sure, nature had its proven effects. No denying the mutations and resistance to magic. But that alone does not prove that you are a monster. It shows that the Black Sun did in fact have an effect on those girls. But is that enough to prove that they are evil? How about the way they were treated and raised? The nurture side of things. Could that be why they are evil? Imagine being born a little different, but everyone in the world thinks you are a monster. Chances are that you will, in fact, become one when everyone treats you as it. If you are treated as a monster when you are at your most malleable, when you are a child, you will begin to show traits of being a monster. especially when you start to believe in the limitations and views that society has set on you. Once you get there, it is pretty much set in stone. What would you do as a child if everyone in the world told you you are cursed and you are a monster? Would you believe it if you were told that throughout your childhood? I think the majority of us would. And once you do start to believe in it, it will end up sort of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Even if you do not believe it, it will just add on to your bitterness on the world for being wronged your whole life. That, coupled in with all the harsh, heinous, and monstrous treatment the girls had to endure, is a terrible recipe for violence, vengeance, and, surprise, monstrous behavior. It is quite ironic how these girls were treated like such evil beings, and in turn they became exactly what they were feared to become. Sienna's path in Witcher 3 is super important for this argument. Depending on your decisions you make, spoiler alert, she can either be killed by Dettlaff or saved. If she survives, the story continues with her being sentenced for her crimes. This is the important part. Her sentence can go on about in two ways. In one, still bitter about her past, she chooses to live up to her name, and through deception, she manages to get in close proximity to the Duchess, who is her sister and the ruler, and kill her with her brooch. In the other scenario, she does not kill her sister and exact vengeance on the world. In essence, choosing to go against what society has always told her. She chose not to be the monster the world thought she was, through the help of our boy Geralt, of course, and ended up forgiving her sister. This whole storyline really shows that it is not nature that prevails over humans, but nurture. If nature was a dominant factor, then Sienna would have killed Anna both of the times. But she did not. This can lead us to believe that Sienna, as well as Renfri, were not born as monsters, but made as monsters, conditioned to be exactly what everyone feared they would become. What would you have done in Renfri or Sienna's position? Would you not crave for vengeance? Would you not go through with it? What would you have done? The themes of nature versus nurture can be seen throughout our lives. You often hear people blaming their lives to be how it is because of how they were born. Although some things like genetics cannot be argued, human beings are incredibly malleable. It is not who you are born as, but who you have been conditioned to become that makes up the majority of your personality, actions, thoughts, etc. Once you realize this, that most of what has happened in your life and what you have become is because of nurture rather than nature, it can be very intimidating. Many may think it is too late for change. The damage has already been done, but that is far from the case. With that said, think about who you are. Do not blame your genetics for being who you are, because once you do that, there is no reason for change, since we cannot change your genes yet. But know that if you were conditioned to be a certain way, you can be conditioned out of it. It can be reversed, as hard as it may seem. You can be conditioned to many things that you have never thought you can be, once you understand that humans are not set in stone. We are malleable, and we can consciously change for the better, or even the worse, as long as you are welcoming to it. With that said, what are some things you have been conditioned to be? What would you like to change, and what would you do to change it?